Hello class, welcome to the last video of the Lockbox. In this video we'll be going over a breakdown on how to assemble a model, but also how to take that assembly model and break it up into a presentation, and then how to then transfer all these files into an A and B series of a drawing. So by the end of this week, not only will you have your completed drawings like you see here from all A series and B series, but you will also have your model itself. Oh, there it is. And you will have this 3D printed. And the cool part is when you're done, you get to keep this and hopefully you'll have some fun with it, whatever you do with it. Keep in mind, when you do your model, remember my model stopped at rings, but when you guys were doing your own stuff, you guys were doing rings template mainly because your stuff was going to have different combinations. My stuff had just simple sevens. So, with that being said, I'm not going to require you to do multiple rings because otherwise you would have 5 different drawings for 5 different rings. But I really don't need to know your combination. You can make whatever combination you want. And we're trying to make this as simple as we can so that way you guys get a base understanding on kind of the things that I'm accepting and requiring of you. So remember, you will have this set of blueprints all the way done, and I'll show you how to even put in your actual bill of materials. So it's going to be kind of a lengthy video, but just pay attention, follow along, and we'll take it from there. So you're in Inventor. The first thing we want to do is we want to go to an assembly drawing. And when we open this up, and there's multiple ways you could do that, whether you go there or you click on new and you drop new down, or you click on file. And when you're in file, then you can click on new and scroll over and you can click on these different ones. Remember, we're doing assembly. So you could also do it there. All right. What I want to bring in is I want to bring in this part, the inside holder, and I want to place it as the ground. So what I want to do is I want to then go find this part by placing not from the content library, any of these other icons, but the actual just place. Now, my stuff is organized a little bit different than yours, but all of yours should be in OneDrive, then right into drafting. So I'm looking for the inside holder. I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to right click and I'm going to say place as ground. And it's going to orientate it in the view that I somewhat like. I'm going to right click then. I'm going to say OK. Now, what ground does is it does not require, it will not let it move. Now, this isn't the view I want, though, because the view that I want as the front is this view. So I rotated my cube. Now I want to, it doesn't matter how your cube came in. You just got to make sure you rotate it to where your arrow is up top, your opening's here, and here's your front. So I'm going to set the front, and then I'm going to set the isometric. There it is. Now that I have that one in, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in this piece and all these other ones, and I'm just going to drop them in there. So we're going to go in place again. I'm going to click on the outside ring. And right now, I can, if I wanted to, right click and I can rotate this, the X, the Y, or the Z axis, and you can see it rotate. Now, as you can tell, we're getting close. There's the view that I want, but I'm backwards. So I need to flip it. So I'm going to rotate the Z, and there it is. Now I'm just going to click. Now the cool thing is I can click multiple of these if I wanted to. But I only want one, so I'm going to delete those. And now this one's just free floating. Now I'm going to bring in the rings. And I'm only going to bring in one ring. Okay, I'm not going to bring my other rings. I'm only bringing in one. And I'm going to rotate this to where the letter or the number, I'm sorry, is up top. So there it is. So I'm going to click it once. I'm going to click these other ones because remember, we got to have 5, correct? Now, what I want to do is I want to constrain this to that. So there's going to be a couple different things here. So there's going to be a couple different things on the way we do this, on whether it's a joint or it's a constraint. So what I want to do is I want to do a joint. And you're going to notice as I rotate around, I'm going to hold my shift and I'm going to click the center button of the mouse, like the scroll, and I'm going to rotate around because I want to select the inside of this. And you all should see a view like this. And what we're looking for is a slider because I want this thing to slide in and out. So I'm going to select this cylinder, that point of the cylinder. And I'm going to come over here and I'm going to choose that cylinder, that point. And now what you'll notice it'll do is it'll slide left and right, but it's not going in and out. So it's not what I want. So maybe I'll try cylinder. There it is. Look at that. So now it's going inside, but it's also spinning as it goes in. And that's what I'm looking. I'm not looking for a shift left and right. I'm looking for a rotate and a slide inside and out. I'm going to hit OK. Now, what you're going to notice is that this thing will move back and forth and it'll rotate, but it's not rotating to the plane that I want it to. But the cool thing is now what we're going to do is we're going to drop down our relationship here, and we're going to see that we've only made one relationship, one constraint to make sure that this thing gets locked in. And now I want to make sure that this goes dead in the middle here. So I'm going to do a constraint here, and it's going to be a flush constraint, and they're going to be like on the same plane. And I'm going to choose this arrow side, and I'm going to choose the arrow face, I'm sorry, the side where the arrow's at, and I'm going to choose the other arrow side. And if you can hear that click let me know that, hey, congratulations, this actually worked, and it lets you slide it inside. So I'm going to hit OK. Now notice this thing won't rotate, but it'll slide in and out. Now, there's a couple other ways we can do this. If we turn this to the top view, you're going to notice that this thing is dead right in the middle, exactly where I want it. And if you get to this orientation, you can see that this space is equal to that space. But my distance, however, is going too deep. Like it can go all the way inside the object. So I want it to stop where it ends, right there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to this cylinder and I'm going to see if there is an edit button where I can put limitations on this on a linear fashion. So remember, we are, if I can go back to our drawings, this thing is 2 3/8 deep. So you got to remember that we're 2 3/8 deep, which means I want to start at 2 3/8 deep, meaning I want it to stop when it hits there. Okay. Let's double check I did that right. Yeah, I want to stop when it hits there, but I want it to end at a positive 2. So if I keep it as a negative 2.38, so point negative 2.375, okay, you're going to notice that it's right on the line now. And then I'm going to set my current as a positive 2. You'll see how far it'll slide out. So I'm going to say OK. Now what you're going to notice is this thing will not go in any further and will not come out any further and will not rotate. And we did that all with just only 2 constraints. So what I want to do now is I want to lock this thing. So I'm going to throw it into place. I'm going to right click it. I'm going to say, hey, ground and don't move. So now it's not moving. And if you notice your icons next to the part that are there, if they have a little pin here, that means that it's grounded. And as you can tell here, I got a couple different parts here. So this part's going to go inside there, and I'm going to rotate it on there. So what I want to do now is it's grounded, it's in its spot, but I want to get rid of the visibility. So I'm going to select it once, I'm going to right click it, and I'm going to go visibility, taken off. Now it's gone, but it is there, which means I can bring it back anytime I want. And I'm only going to show you how to ground one, okay? And then you guys are going to do the rest yourself. So with that being said, I want this on there, correct? So we're going to go back to joint. We're going to go ahead and put it as a cylinder face again. Remember, I'm going to choose this side, that cylinder face. Let's put it back as automatic. Let's see what happens. So there we go. Boom. Notice it selected the middle and I was on the outside of that ring. Okay. You got to make sure that you select the right side. And then the second one, outside center. Boom. So it's going to rotate, but now it won't slide left and right. But I want it to, so I'm going to do a cylinder slide. I'm going to say OK. And now if you notice that this thing will do exactly what the last one did. But I want to make sure everything lines up correctly, so we're going to do another constraint. I'm going to do a flush constraint. I'm going to say, hey, this is going to be constrained with that. Boom. And if you hear the lock again, we know that we're set in place and we're ready to rock and roll. Now, if I rotate this to the right view, you'll notice that I have my tolerances opened up here for the correct amount that I'm looking for. But my problem is I don't know how far down it goes. Well, that's easy because now what we're going to do is we're going to open up this part. So what I want to do is I want to go and hit open, and I want to go to the actual part of the ring, the inside holder. And now you're going to notice that I want to make a plane on this surface right here, and I want it right in the middle. So I'm going to go back. Now, remember, we're on a different part, which means if you are not the person that made this part, you got to make sure you get all these parts, save them in your OneDrive, and then now you have ownership of them because now we're going to have to alter some things to these. So I'm going to make a new plane, and I'm going to do a mid plane offset of 2 planes. So I'm going to click this surface, and I'm going to click this surface. And now there's a plane dead in the middle, exactly where I want it to be. And I'm going to go ahead and do that to this. And I'm going to do it again to this side. And now we also need another plane between these two. So the cool part is, sorry, we had some coming on the intercom. So remember, I want a plane in between here because the rings fit perfectly in the middle. So we're going to try to do another plane, but between 2 planes. So I'm going to select this plane. I'm going to select that plane. And notice it puts it in there. I'm going to do it again, midpoint. This plane with that plane. Okay, so I have all my planes visible. And now if I click back to assembly, I should see all those planes. Congratulations, there they are. So here's what we want to do. We're going to lock this plane with that plane. But what I need to do is I need to open up this ring part and I need to make a plane there. So with that being said, we're going to go back to open. We're going to open up ring 1. And now I'm going to make a plane between these two, which I think I already did, but I'm going to make one again just so you guys can see it. So here we go. Midpoint between this surface and that surface, and it'll show you dead in the middle. Now we're going to come back to assembly. So there it is, right? Notice it's sliding left and right, coming down, but I want it to be locked. So now we're going to do a constraint that's going to be an actual mate, like the faces are going to meet. They're not going to be flush left and right, but they're actually going to be mating in the middle. So what I want to do is I want to select this right here, and I want to select this plane with that plane. And if you heard it lock, you now know that this thing's set in place and it will not move left and right. But Mr. Spearson, I want it to rotate. I don't want it to move. So well, that's really cool. We can go back to our relationships and we can go to our flush mount and I can delete it because now I've made it, right? So if I want it to rotate, it'll rotate now. And then when we get to the actual assembly to see if things are working right, I can lock it back up and then we can be good to go. So one thing I'm going to try here is I'm going to undo that and I'm going to try to isolate it. Let's see if it, oh, I'm going to suppress it. So suppressing it just allows me to rotate it. And then if I bring it back, notice it's not rotated right. Let's see if I bring it back. Let's see what happens. Boom. And it brings me right back to where I want to be. So that's really cool. So let's suppress it now. Now I just controlled E on that. I don't know if you guys caught that, but I just undid what I did. So I deleted it, but then I went Control E or Control Z, I'm sorry. Control Z until the flush mount came back. So we're set. Now what I want to do is I want to match all of these with those. So I'm going to do one more with you, and then I'm going to hurry up and pause the video and do it all, and then we'll start up again. So here we go. I'm going to hit joint, okay? I'm going to keep it as an automatic. I'm going to select this face, meaning that ring right there, that ring, but notice it's hitting the center. So now I'm going to click it. Notice it clicked that point. Now I'm going to rotate back and I'm going to select this ring, that center, boom. And I'm going to switch it to cylinder. I'm going to hit apply. Now I'm going to go constraint flush. Okay, we're going to do a flush mount, and I'm going to say, hey, this needs to mount with that, and it locks up into place, which means now it'll slide left and right, but what's it not going to do? It's not going to let me rotate it left and right. Oh, wait, you know what I did wrong there? I did the wrong flush. So see how it's the wrong face? I don't want to be to that. I want to be to this. So I'm going to delete that, and we're going to do it again. So flush, I'm going to go, hey, this needs to be with that. Boom. Now, if I suppress this again, they won't be locked together. They can be individually set. Now what I want to do is, we don't want to get confusing. So sometimes if I need to, I'll switch it to this view so I can see what plane I need to be locked to. So now I'm going to do a mate, and I'm going to go, hey, this with that. Boom. There it is. Now, remember, it's locked to that face. If I want to rotate it, what do? I take off the flush by just suppressing it. And now it rotates. So I'm going to pause the video and then come back, and you guys will have this all done. Voila, there they all are. Now, what I did is I went ahead and suppressed or unsuppressed, or I'm sorry, I suppressed all the flush mounts so that these will all individually rotate, but they will not slide off. So with that being said, what I don't want to see is these planes anymore. So we're going to go back to the inside holder, and I'm going to select all these planes, and I'm going to get rid of the visibility. Now I can't delete them, because if I delete them, then all my constraints here that I've made off of those planes then now do not work. So we're going to come back to here, and I'm going to get rid of the visibility here by just scrolling over it and hitting visibility. Come back to assembly. Now these are all rotating just the way I want them to. And if I hit the front view and I zoom in here, you'll see that they're all perfectly opened with the right openings that I'm looking for. Now, I have all my relationships put together. What I want to do is I want to then bring back my ring holder, visibility. And then if you notice, if I can't slide it out because it's grounded, so I'm going to right click and I'm going to unground it, and now it'll slide in and out. But notice that when I do that, this key code will not work unless they're in this position so that this thing can slide inside there. So this is pretty neat. If I wanted to, remember, I can always bring back my suppressions so that everything gets back to the way it's supposed to, right? And I'm almost done. Perfect. And then this will slide in perfectly. Notice it doesn't go any further, which means it's stopped. It's hit its limit. And if we zoom in here, you'll notice that I have my gap here, and this gap, oh, I didn't do my offset right, but it's okay. Yeah, because when this thing flush mounts to that, I should have that gap there. Boom, there it is. Look at that. So we're set. We're ready to rock and roll. Everything's in place. What I want to do now is I want to hit save. So right now you guys not saved anything, so we're going to go File, Save As. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to where we're actually inside our lockbox. Now remember, your guys' are going to say WP6 or WP2. You're going to open up lockbox, and you're going to have one that you're going to call assemblies. So we're going to make a new folder, and you're going to call it assemblies. Oops. Oh my goodness sakes. Assemblies. Boom. And then inside assemblies, you're going to make a new folder, and this one's going to be called lockbox. Boom. There's that. We're going to say okay to it because there's a bunch of other things that we didn't move, we moved around, but that's okay. We're set. We're ready to rock and roll. Now, before I go in and make my drawings, what I need to do now, so before I make my drawings, I want to make sure that my cube is in the right position. So if I go back to my drawing, okay, and I scroll up, remember, this is the front, this is the right, this is the top, and then this is the isometric, which means front, right, top. So I want to make sure my cube is in that orientation. So we're going to rotate it. Notice it's not in the right orientation, so I'm going to rotate it up. I'm going to say that's my view that I'm looking for. I'm going to right click. I'm going to set current view as the front. And then I'm going to set my isometric as the fixed view. So now When I hold shift and click the center button and rotate this crazy, whenever I hit home, it'll always bring me back to my isometric view. So there we go. We're ready to rock and roll. I'm going to hit save one more time. Now what I want to do is I want to put this in a presentation mode. So we're going to hit File, New now. Actually, we're going to make that another video. No, we're going to do it now because it's pretty easy. So I'm going to go File, New, and I'm going to go right down here to Presentation. So now it's going to open up a brand new presentation mode, and it's going to ask me what do I want to bring in that's an assembled that I need to pull apart to actually show an assembled view. So I'm going to go back to Assemblies, and this is our lockbox that we just made. So here's my view. Notice they're all in position, but what I want to do is I want to click Tweak Components or Tweak, and I want to click on this, and I want to click and drag this, and I want to go a -2. Oops, I'm sorry, wrong one. That one, -2. There it is. Now I'm going to hit enter, and notice it's out there. Now what I want to do is I want to blow these down. So I'm going to hit tweak components. I'm going to select this. I'm going to click on that. Oops, I'm sorry. Click and drag that, and I'm going to bring it down a 1.5. And then I'm going to do this one. I'm going to bring this one down. Oops. Do it again. Hit escape. There we go. Tweak. Click this. And I'm going to bring it down 2. And then we're going to do it again. Notice I'm just going in intervals here of 0.5. So then this one's going to be 2.5. I'm going to select this one. This one's going to be 2.75. And you can make it whatever you want. And notice I didn't do that one right. So I'm just going to double click this line. And then I'm going to make it 3. Perfect. Hit enter. Say okay to it. Now we're going to do this last one. I'm going to make that one 3.5. Boom. So as you guys can see, these are in the view that I want them to be. So we're going to go back here. And we're going to say, hey, this is the view that I want them. This is the view that I like. Because if I look back at here, you guys will see that, oh, I guess I did keep one there. And then I rotated them down. You can do whichever way you want. The whole point of this is like, imagine you're at home, you just got married, and you bought a bunch of IKEA furniture. What you're staring at here is an example of what it's supposed to look like when you are like putting something together. So these lines represent what plane they came from. So these lines come down. This line looked like it stayed put, and then this inside part came back. This outside holder came forward. So it kind of just really shows you the way it's kind of being set up. So we're kind of doing the same thing. So we're going to tweak this last one, and we're going to pull that one back too. And we'll bring that one back. Let's bring that one back too. And then I'm going to select this one, and I'm going to delete it. And it brings me right back to where I want to be. So notice I want this one to be back a little bit further. Let's go 2.5. There it is. Look at that. And remember, we can always just keep changing stuff if we wanted to. But I like that. Maybe if I wanted this not to be, maybe I went 1.5 there. And then I brought these back to 2. And I can just easily change these to 2.5. And this one's going to be 3. So now my view is the way I want it to be. But it's not in the right orientation. So this is my front view. Here's my isometric view. And remember, we're selecting view because I don't want distance. This is the view that I want. Now I'm going to go File, Save As, and I'm going to keep it in Assemblies. And I'm going to name it just Lockbox because now it's a different file type. So if I hit Save here, okay, you're going to notice that it's in its position. But I don't have any snapshots yet. So what I need to do now is, now that I have my cube orientated right, my block pulled apart, I want to hit Capture Camera. Oh wait, no, create new snapshot view. And then it puts it right here. Now what I'm gonna do is hit save one more time. and then follow my videos for the next one on how to put all these into an actual, what's the word I'm looking for? Into drawings for your A series. Because your B series is already done. You've already done the parts. Now the next video will show you how to put them into a B series so that way you know how to put everything together and ready to rock and roll. Okay, thank you very much. Hope you enjoy.